Hello, my dear friend, and how are you today? Have you decided to start this day, or if you're in the middle of your day, or if you're even at the end of the day, to be not quite happy, but content? You know, that's a choice, and it's a very interesting thing about how difficult it is to maintain that state of happiness, call it, or contentment or satisfaction, even if you're in the midst of hell or a breakdown or jail or in a revolution or whatever is happening around you. I know this because I myself do this every day since I found out that how I feel is a choice thing. It's not about who is doing what to me or where I happen to be or what's happening outside of me. It has to do with what's going on inside of me, my feelings. And feelings, I used to think, were not facts. But they tell you that in early sobriety when you're coming from a lifetime of addiction, because your feelings are all over the place. If you have not yet been introduced to the magic of your feelings, let me introduce you. Because feelings are almost like guideposts from our higher selves, our connection to the higher opportunities in our consciousness. Some call that God, some call that nature, some call it serenity, whatever you call it. It's a choice. It's a choice whether you're in touch with it or not in touch with it. And people who are not in touch with the fact that they can choose how they feel, even if circumstances surrounding them seem quite dreadful, awful, not fair, all those other things, oppressive. The list goes on and on about the atrocities of our humanness against each other, doesn't it? And also nature. Nature plays a role in this. Don't forget the hurricanes, the wildfires that can destroy a lifetime of possessions and love and neighborliness in a second, in a flash second. Or a storm out at sea. Or if you're a sailor, you can run into a log and all of a sudden, boom, you're in deep dookie. So nature is also something that affects us, as well as who we choose to hang out with or not, or how we feel about what's happening in society, or whether we are able to accept the fact that difficult times are part of being alive, and that fear is part of being human. But we don't have to live in a state of fear. We can choose to approach each state that we encounter, one after the next, one episode, one experience, one new job, one new car crash, or the car falling apart, or whatever, or choosing better. We can choose to approach things in a state of love. So what does that mean? This time I feel I have a little better grasp of it because I just wrote a little essay. I was asked to give a definition of what love means to me. And love, of course, we all know is either an action word or a noun word. We can love our car, we can love football, or not, in my case, or we can love a person. That's the action part of love. And then there's the noun, to be in the state of love. That, my friends, is where the fact that we have choice, the fact that we have free will, comes in. So free will is a God-given trait. I mean, people who say, I have no control over it. Well, that's wonderful that they know that they have no control over the big picture of whether or not they were born in a certain place or have a certain sex to begin with, or whatever, like the fact that they have blue eyes instead of green, although people are messing around with all those things too. There are some things that we do have choices about, and those are mainly how we feel, how we approach each day, or each minute, or each breath. Because we can change the way we feel by just realizing that it is a choice. And so if we're feeling out of sorts, it's just not a good day. We used to say our biorhythms were out. And that's perfectly normal. One day we feel good, the next day we don't. One day we feel like nothing's going right, the next day we're on top of the world. But in actuality, we can change the way we feel at any moment if we are aware of the fact that we have that choice. And that is living on a higher spiritual plane than people who say, oh, I have no choice. I am totally pissed off at what's going on and nothing's going to change it. I know quite a few people who are like that these days. And to tell you the truth, they have the right to feel that way, but I don't want to be in their company that much. And a few of these people have asked me, well, how do you feel about the current situation? And if they ask me in earnest, I will tell them. I won't tell people unless they ask me, though, because a lot of people don't want to know that they have the choice about how to feel. So I feel that love, especially when we're talking about tough love, when somebody says to you could lose a few pounds, that's tough love. They're saying that probably because they care for you. If they didn't care for you, they would never have said anything. I can remember my mother saying that when I first gained a few pounds, she would actually grab my skin, and she didn't even have to say it. She just grabbed the extra skin, and I knew what she was saying. If she didn't care about me, she would never have mentioned it. She would never have grabbed that extra bit of flesh, which I had never had up until that point. So it was something new, and I should have been aware of it. But until my mother grabbed it, I didn't give it any consciousness. I just let it go. And I have since been aware of it. So I watch my cookies and my ice cream and things like that. So little by little, we become aware of things. And our feelings are something that a lot of people are not aware of, that are indications about how well we're doing with our spiritual life. Because yes, we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And feelings are part of this human experience, as well as things like living through situations that are not comfortable. We are not living on a planet called paradise. We are living on a planet called Earth. And Earth has many limitations and challenges and wonderful opportunities to have an outrageously beautiful life at any given moment. But we must play with those feelings. We can't let negative feelings overwhelm us and discourage us and tell us lies like, oh, there is no point to this. Oh, evil is winning out over good. No, those are just lies that people tell themselves because, well, I think they're lazy. It takes work to be happy. It takes work to accept unacceptable situations or see them in a different light. To see that a challenging situation, like even feeling oppression and unfairness and downright cruelty, has a purpose. Almost like tough love, like Mama telling me I had some extra flesh, that our awareness is being expanded. That we have the ability to see that out of negative situations, we can grow and we can learn from and we can come up with other solutions, starting within our own private life. And that expands and expands to our circle of friends, to our family, and even to the entire world. Now, you probably all know about quantum physics. Einstein changed the whole game when he came up with his magic formula, E equals mc squared, which basically means that we are energy. We are all energy. I'll say that more clearly. I was getting a little muffled in there. We are all energy, and energy does not dissipate. E is energy, M is matter, C is, I believe, the speed of light, squared. E equals mc squared. Well, I'm not a physicist, and I could not explain it to you in terms of how a physicist could, but basically, I've read enough about quantum physics to know that Einstein completely blew the minds of everybody who was studying the so-called irrevocable laws of physics. For every cause, there's an effect. Everything goes in a regular way all throughout the universe. He put a monkey's wrench in the pile, and what is now basically the accepted way of seeing this world, this physical world, is that there is no law that governs one thing. There's chaos. There's lines and there's theories galore in the world of quantum physics. It's basically that energy never goes away. Even with us, we are human beings, we have a body, but our energy is our soul. And so we can interpret that as the energy that we put out into the world never is for naught. It means something. If you have a thought, like a loving thought, as opposed to a fearful thought, that counts because it sets off a vibration of energy. Love and harmony and beauty and all those things that you associate with the word love sets off a high vibration. And if you think of the word fear, which is the opposite of love, it sets off a negative charge, like contraction. Love is expansive. Fear is contracted. If everybody had more peaceful, more open, more accepting, and higher thoughts about what's going on in this world instead of fearful ones or angry ones or judgmental ones or going out and just making trouble about things, that's contracting. We would have a lot more creative solutions in the world if everybody at least attempt to put positivity into your thoughts. It's like trying to teach a child how to smile instead of frown when they don't get their way. We can't all get our way all the time. We have to have the ebb and the flow of working with things called desires. I mean, sometimes we have a desire and we must fulfill it. We must have that cookie right then and there, or we must go take a walk. So those are okay things, but other desires, maybe they don't fit in to what's happening in the general flavor of mankind. Like we want everybody to think the way we do about politics or religion or anger or, nutrition even. The craziest subjects. We want everybody to think like we do. But that is not the picture of Earth. Earth is about conflict and night and day, this and that. There's opposites. There's even evil. Take M. Scott Peck's book. When I read his book, Children of the Lie, it blew my mind. I wrote a letter to him and said, Dr. Peck, it can't be like that. Ah, yes. The man whose first book was The Road Less Traveled and was absolutely a stunning book, a stunning proposition that we do have the choice to think higher, to have the spiritual approach to life as opposed to just the mundane. When he wrote his second book, I was shocked. But he, having treated many patients. He was a psychotherapist. I don't even know if he's alive anymore. He found that there is true evil in this world, and we have to accept that it is part of the human condition. That doesn't mean that we're going to promote it or that we think that it's good. It just is part of the world picture. The world view does have evil in it. And so we do our best to promote the goodness of life by what? By mainly having positive thoughts. And that means watching our feelings, having the choice to change a feeling of being in despair to saying, yes, there is some evil in this world, but I'm not going to focus on that. I'm going to focus on all the wonderful goodness there is, because there is so much of it. Just look outside of a window. Look at the sky. Look at the leaves on the trees up near the sky. Listen to a bird's cry. Listen to a caterpillar walking on a tree limb. Know that there are so many invisibly working things in the background of our existence that are positive, that are beautiful, and we can focus on those instead of just one thing or several things that may not be to our liking. Why do we have to focus on those? We can change things by the way we think. Now, you may not believe this, but it is true, and it has been proven in laboratories and by physicists and people who study things like energy transmission and communication between objects that are even separated. Well, even think about our bodies, like a little tiny splinter in your toe, way down there, way at the bottom of your body, can cause such agony in our entire way of feeling, and because it's communicating. The pain way down at the bottom of your foot, if there's a splinter there, is felt in our mind, in our brain, and it communicates to so many other sensory perceptions, organs, and whatnot. We're uncomfortable. We're in a state of pain. Why? Because something so far away from central headquarters, which is our brain, is out of sync. It's unacceptable, but yet it gives us the impetus to do something. We go and search out a needle. We sterilize that needle. We find a good light. We creatively get ourselves in a position so we can eradicate that nasty little splinter. And voila, we have solved the uncomfortableness that was so far away from central headquarters, our brain, which is the operating center of our bodies. So that's just the microcosm, right? Each one of us, is the microcosm of this big picture, the macrocosm. And every thought that we have in our mind, that metaphysical organ, not the brain, which is the physical organ, the mind that has thoughts that we can control. We can choose to have positive thoughts that if something unacceptable is happening, we can say it is for a reason, and maybe I won't know it right now. Maybe I won't know it even in the future. Maybe it will be even not in my lifetime that I will know, but it is happening. And therefore, it is part of our evolution. And we have the choice to accept that and not be uncomfortable and not be wanting to change and make it what we think it should be. Or as one of my friends said, take it back to the time when everything was normal. This moment here, right now, is what's normal. Is your right now a pleasant one? I hope so. maybe by listening to me, you're having some insights or having some tickles about I can change, I have the choice. I don't have to stay in this place that was uncomfortable. I can choose to start my day over, to start my life over, to rebirth myself this very minute. Why not? We just celebrated Easter, and Easter has always meant to me, teZa, my rebirth day. I decided to honor it as my rebirth day rather than the day of honoring Christ, because I was raised Christian, but my worldview is everything is God now. And so I wanted to make it so that Easter was something special to me personally, rather than the little girl who used to get dressed up in her Easter outfit with the bonnet and the gloves, even when I was a kid, and go to church and all that to honor Jesus' resurrection. So I decided 40 years ago, when I came into the spiritual world of sobriety and gave myself to my new addiction, which is to live in the spiritual realm, to live in the light, I decided that Easter would be a good way for me to celebrate the fact that I chose to rebirth myself, to give myself a new beginning, a new chance at life. Because I had messed up quite a bit before that. I had. And I don't regret any of it because I'm a writer, and it all makes for very interesting books when you have conflict and drama, which was my life. And now the conflict and drama is food for my books. It's fodder for my offerings to the world, even this podcast. I try to be as honest as I can, and I hope you find it useful. We're just on a note about what's happening with Z Lord and my co-host Carter, who's been on sabbatical for a while. We're preparing for a boat trip, and we will be podcasting together and bringing you the adventures of going up the Intercoastal Waterway, which is on the eastern seaboard of America, all the way from our little place in Florida, going up. We have a 26-foot boat, and it's very tight and very comfortable. We both love to take voyages on boats, and we plan to be on this trip for quite a while. So that'll be coming up very shortly. We're preparing the boat now, and we're hoping to take off in a couple weeks at the end of May. Meanwhile, be well, and I will talk to you again very soon. And remember, your feelings are your barometer with how your spiritual life is. If you're feeling upset in any way out of the state of love, just remember that that's your choice. You can bring yourself back and align yourself with the higher choices in life, with the higher vibration. And even if something uncomfortable is going on in your life, just take it as a little bit of tough love that is for no other reason except to express loving compassion through you, with you, and in you. Om Namah Shivaya. I love you.